Again, everybody, for those that have just joined us, thank you for joining. I'm losing count now. I was going to say the fourth, but it's probably the fifth online conference, and we've got some really good speakers today. Just a bit of housekeeping again. You get sick of me saying this, but if you could please keep your microphone on mute. It just stops us getting a lot of background noise, and if you are finding that the image does freeze quite a bit, then turn the video off because your internet's probably a little bit slow. It's, as I say, the times are quite tough at the moment, and we're all getting used to the brand new normal, coming to terms with the effects of coronavirus and the lockdown, and probably like everybody else, starting to get a bit sick of it now. There are glimmers of hope on the horizon, with the government starting to release people from absolute lockdown. But for people like us in the Taekwondo world and clubs, we're still some way away from that. It is good to see a lot of people still being very proactive, trying to get online, do training online as much as they possibly can. I saw one particular class the other week. I think they had nearly 130, 140 people on it on one Zoom feed, which must be a record. Could I just ask again another little bit of housekeeping? We have a Zoom chat group. If you're not sure where that is, along the bottom of your screen, it should have either a chat function, and if you can't find it, have a look on the little box that says more. Click on that and it will say Zoom group chat. If you've got any questions for any of the speakers today, if you could use that chat box for that. The urge is to use it to say hi to people and exchange pleasantries. If I could ask you just not to do that today and just use it for any questions that you may have. What it does do is it gives the speakers the opportunity, once they've finished, to come back to you on any particular topic, or just answer questions as we go. What we will do as well is we'll use that as a first come, first served basis. We'll try and answer as many as we can. However, we will put the answers on the website later on in the next couple of days if we don't manage to get all the ones answered. So as I was saying, things are still tough. It looks as though we're in lockdown as far as Taekwondo clubs are concerned for a good few weeks yet before they start opening up. We are working on what's called a return to play, which we'll share more details with clubs through the website over the next week or two. Some of you may have noticed already that government is releasing and allowing certain elements of the sporting world to return to play. Football clubs and elite sport, and you'll probably find that a lot of the elite sports that can create a bubble and an isolated unit will start doing that, but it's still a long way away from your normal class as it was. And so we're going to start talking about return to play in the next Zoom conference, and we'll start putting out some documentation that will help clubs just understand a step-by-step way to get back to, I was going to say normal. I'm not sure what that looks like. The new normal may be a mixture of live in-person classes and still using online tools. Those of you that have really grasped the sort of online training, I'm sure ideas are spinning around already to just expand that out and use it in your future lesson plans, so that you start to deliver content more and more online and in pre-recorded material, and possibly use your live classes as more assessment and feedback tools. But like I say, I won't go too much into that at the moment, because it's still being put together, you know, with government and Sport England and things like that. But I know you're all chomping to get back to training. So without any further ado, I'd first of all like to thank everyone for joining us, and particularly to thank Phill Payne, who's becoming a regular on our Zoom coach conferences. But Phill has a lot of very, very good ideas and experience in the fields that we find ourselves in right now. So Phil's going to talk today about Facebook marketing and try and give us all a bit of a crash course in that. He's also going to go on to talk about designing and delivering classes to children. And again, very relevant at the moment, where you've got all these people at home just desperate to do stuff, and parents just crying out for ways to keep people occupied. We're also thrilled to have with us today Steve Jennings, lead coach at GB Taekwondo. Steve is going to talk to us about training athletes in lockdown and just share a few experiences with that. So we've got about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half. We'll try and keep to time, but I do apologise in advance if we do run over a little bit. But if you can stick with us, please do. So without any further ado, can I pass over to Phill, introduce you to Phill Payne, and take it away, Phill.
Hi everyone. Okay, today I've got two subjects. Just share my screen. Start sharing. I'm trying. I've got a new version of PowerPoint on here. I just need to.
Just while Phil's looking for that, just as a reminder for those who've just joined us, if you want to ask a question to any of the speakers today, we have a chat function. If you can't see it on your screen, if you look at the bottom of your screen, wiggle your mouse around, click on more if it's not showing up, and it'll say chat. And there's an opportunity there to leave questions for the speakers. You can also talk to each other privately. If you've got a message for a particular individual, right at the very bottom, you can see of the chat group, it says to. If you click on the thing that says everyone at the moment, it gives you a list of the other participants. So you can have little private chats if you want, but you can post questions to everybody, or primarily the speakers, and say we'll hope to answer them. I can see Eddie's asked the question already, and James has already answered it. So so thanks for that. So are you back there?
Not quite yet.
Not quite.
I got to share my screen.
Well, while we're waiting for you, I'm now scanning the number of participants and choosing today's winner of the best background. I like to do that. Steve Jennings has got a nice snazzy one. I don't know whether that's intentional. You know, the nice little Union Jack there. That's quality. The rest is an assortment of walls and curtains and stone walls from Glenn Walsh there. Let's see. I think Dave Bailey's probably the winner today. Grandmaster Bailey with his old academy background. That's the most colourful. You can, on some of these things, choose all fancy backgrounds with bubbles and spaceships and all the rest of it. So if you're joining us next week, come on, let's make an effort on the background, shall we? I'm starting to recognise people's walls as well, and the ones that have been painted or not, as the case may be. So, all right, I'll shut up now and
I'm still going through at the moment.
let Phill just talk.
Sorry.
Maybe you can talk us through what you're going to go through as well, Phill, while you're chatting.
Yeah, I'm playing at the moment. 1 second. At the moment, when I go to share, start share, it says allow Zoom to share screen, and I've got open system preferences, security and privacy to grant access. System preferences. I can't see where I take this. Like I said, this is a new version of PowerPoint that I should have really tested first.
Shall we? Would it be better if we, while you sort that out, Phill, if we maybe switch it around and
yeah, can do.
invite Steve to dive in and do his.
That'll give me a little bit of time to sort it out.
Yeah, and maybe Rhiannon, we can just offline. You can help Phill see if we can share the screen. It might be, as you say, the new settings.
Well, if need be, I've emailed a copy of the slides so that we can do it that way if we really need to.
Okay, so Steve, while we deal with this with Phill, technical difficulties, are you okay to dive straight in on your section, or are we dropping you in it there?
No, I'll be good. I'll be good, I think. Bear with me. Yeah, good to go in. Shall I crack on?
Yeah, why not? You're a bit dark. It's probably because of the light behind you, but
sorry.
It's all right. Don't worry.
I think
we can see you.
When I step back, because I'm going to do most of my work back here. How's that?
Yeah, that's perfect, Steve. Thank you. Over to you.
Cool. So I might have the same issue as Phill here. I want to share my screen. Where are we? This one?
Yeah, we've got that, Steve, so that's good.
Okay. Okay, so I will, I've made a mini presentation, but most of the work, what I do is going to be, demonstrations behind me. So yeah, if I run through the presentation, shouldn't be like 5 minutes, and then maybe 20 minutes or something like that after, where I'm just giving some demonstrations. So basically, some ideas, hopefully, for training athletes in this lockdown period. Little introduction to myself, probably different to most of you guys, as I don't currently have a club. Coaching the GB Karugi team since 2007, that's actually scary, 13 years. I don't know where it's gone, but yeah, so 13 years, so currently don't have a club now, but before that I did have a club in Liverpool, had that for 9 years. So yeah, Scouser, working in Manchester is not ideal, but I've managed to stay out of trouble. Now from 6 years old, 32 years I've been involved with Taekwondo. Love it. It's my life. So yeah, my aims really for today is just hopefully to try and give some people some fresh ideas. I think most people who I speak to are struggling for ideas of what they can do. You know, I'll throw some things out. Hopefully they're useful. It's been tricky for me, if I'm honest, because I kind of specialize in Karugi and competition. So that's one strand of our martial art. It's one part of what we do. So try to think how can I take that strand and make it relevant for a lot of people. Definitely what I'm doing today, I wouldn't say is aimed at elite top level athletes, but I think for the masses it could definitely help. Apologies if some of you guys think that it's pretty basic what I'm doing. I don't consider it to be basic, if I'm honest. I consider it to be like key. So if when athletes come to the academy, if they could be amazing at these type of things, that would be ideal for me. So yeah, apologies if you do think that it's basic, but you know, for me, it's not. It would make my life so much easier if everybody could do this well. So yeah, again, I guess some people maybe a little bit all over the place. Definitely some of the instructors and the coaches I've spoken to having good days and bad days. So I kind of just want to touch a little bit on like motivation versus commitment. So yeah, I'll speak a little bit more about that at the end. And then yeah, the last thing for me really is just this lockdown has been a good opportunity for me to kind of reconnect. I think GB Taekwondo is quite a closed bubble, and I've been there 13 years, and I think rightly so. If you look at the results, it definitely works with the setup, but you are a little bit isolated. And I've kind of enjoyed the last, I've lost count of how many weeks, 8 weeks is it now? I don't know, but kind of enjoyed, yeah, reconnecting with some clubs and doing some stuff. So again, this is another good opportunity for me. So thank you for James and Ian for having me. Some of the themes that I'm going to talk about today, if you don't understand them, don't worry too much. I'll explain as we go. But movement, faking, and presence, that's like one package for me. Clashing, which is a really important part of the game, but maybe not so exciting, but I'll touch on that in a minute. Clinch, slash, short distance, so not necessarily clinch, but short distance, and then leg control. So they're the 4 themes that I've chosen. Reason I've chosen them themes are because they're almost perfect if you haven't got much space. You know, I'm going to do it in my conservatory here, so perfect if you haven't got much space, and you know, can still be done if you don't have a partner. So yeah, they're the themes that I've chosen. I thought of a couple of things, maybe a little bit outside of the box, but definitely I spoke to 2 instructors who were saying they're almost struggling for energy and trying to think, you know, so much pressure on me to get the right answers for a situation that I don't really know what I'm doing. So I've tried to think a little bit outside of the box. So I'll come on to them later, but how can we use our members, or could we even do sessions where we don't even actually kick, which I'll touch on towards the end. Yeah, and then hopefully, yeah, some takeaways. Yeah, we can come back to that. So let me stop this. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so to start with, hopefully, if I just tilt this down, everybody can see me okay. Like I said, it might not be very exciting. Hopefully you don't think it's too basic for you guys, but I'm going to touch on like movement, faking, having a presence. Every time I ever take a seminar in a club, or, you know, I've done some online sessions for some clubs, when I ask members to move, it's quite erratic. Yeah, it's like, it's crazy, and it's all one pace. It's one pace. Yeah, if I go this way, it's one pace and it's quite erratic. Yeah, so with your movement, I think for me, the movement is like the key to everything. It's the key to being able to adapt. So you would have seen some fighters who'd be like amazing on Gen 1 system, and then another system will come and it requires a different set of skills and they can't adapt. Yeah, or a KPMP system and they can't adapt. So for me, movement is the key to everything. Yeah, so when we do this, you want to try and get your members or your athletes doing as minimal steps as possible. Just put that up a tiny bit. I'm going to try and get your members doing as minimal steps as possible. So if we're moving forward, if we go twice, it's like 1, 2. That's it. If it's back, 1, 2. We're not crossing our feet and moving this way like a crab where it's slow, yeah? As minimal motions, as low to the floor, bam, 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 bam. Yeah, as low and as fast as you can. Also, when I say it's one pace, remember if you move or you fake, you're trying to create a reaction from your opponent. Yeah, so if I'm moving at one pace and then I ask to fake, and that's my fake, but it's the same pace, you're never going to create a reaction. Yeah, you're never going to do that. So don't be scared to stand still sometimes, yeah, or small motions, yeah, and try to look imposing or intimidating. Yeah, and then here, boom, we can fake big, bam, we can change from slow to fast. And that's how we can create reactions. in our opponent. If it's the same pace, you've got no chance. It's all the same, yeah? So don't be scared to be nothing. Whoa, fast, fast, yeah? So a couple of key things there. All the time, I say to my members, athletes, imagine an opponent. Imagine you're in a competition, yeah? If you just move for the sake of it, it's not going to have the effect that you want, yeah? Always try to imagine, if I do this, what will my opponent do? So try to think of it like that. And then the last thing for movement, in my opinion, it gives us so much variation, different variation of what you can do, yeah? So if you're, I'll give you an example, yeah? If you're going to make the most basic kick, back leg, turning kick, here, basic technique, you can tell your members 10 of them, 20 of them, yeah? But we're trying to think, how can we keep them excited? How can we do different things? So you can do that with your movement, yeah? The same kick we can do in lots of different ways. So it could be basic kick, okay, good. We could do something where with your movement, where you move to the side, bam, but then it's the same kick. We could do something where you avoid. So remember the two motions here, 1, 2, but then bam, with your kick. We could do something where if the opponent is going to move back, we can travel after them and then go with the same kick. So there's so much you can do with it. It gives you much more scope. You can do the same techniques, but in lots of different ways. So I think movement is really key to everything. And all of the other things that I do, you'll probably see how movement can help with them as well. Okay, so that's number 1. Give me a minute. I'm old. Okay, number 2. Ready, wifey? That's a good one.
No. Out.
Okay, so number 2, guys, we're going to do clashing. Found myself a glamorous assistant here, so I found the wifey, Sarah, our president. So yeah, guys, actually just thinking about it. You know, if any of you guys are feeling brave, feel free to have a little practice yourself. If you're feeling a little bit brave, maybe you can turn your camera off, but have a little practice. And if you're not feeling brave, you can stay sat there. Second one, we're going to do clashing. Okay, so by you, Sarah, just clear for me. So clash, guys, it's kind of like a new action. People might say it's not even a technique, okay, but a clash for me, really defensive, yeah? It's a defensive action. It helps you to control the match, helps you to slow the opponent down, and helps you be really hard to score points on, okay? So if I do it without Sarah first, you clash, it looks like this, yeah? Arms in a good position, so you want to cover as much as the target area as you can. So arms covering your body, and you use this front leg here to pick up, yeah, and cover this area. So here, bam, we're picking up, okay? So if we've got any referees in, you probably say to me, that's a gam jump, you're not allowed to do that. And obviously, yeah, in the rules, if I just pick up here, it's gam jump, of course, yeah? So what we have to do is make it look like you're going to kick after, yeah? So we're here, we pick up and then kick out, yeah? Pick up, kick out, any way you want, okay? So if I use an example of Sarah trying to kick towards me, here, bam, yeah? She scores on me, and I'm going to use this leg to almost deflect, yeah? Deflect that leg here, bam, and then looking for a scoring technique off it, whatever you choose, bam, here, looking for a scoring technique off it. So if you get your clash right, it will take momentum away from the opponent. It will almost knock them off balance and give you opportunities. So just demonstrate one more time. Just come in here, bam. I stop it here. We've got a chance to score. And as long as you kick afterwards, whatever technique it is, then you'll get away with it and it won't be damaging. So clash for me, really, really important. How we can link this with our movement, again, all of it will come back to the movement part, I think. So let's imagine, let's imagine your opponent has forced you backwards and you get towards the edge of the ring, yeah? And now you don't want to go out. You don't want to go out of the ring. We can pick up here, move, bam, clash, yeah? And we have to stay really strong. Focus on your base as well, yeah? Not just your pick up leg, but if we move back and then, bam, we can pick up. Yeah, so that's how you can link your movement and your clashing. So you can potentially say to your members, practice clash, move and clash, move, clash, kick off it. There's loads of places you can go to. Very last thing with clashing, if you want to practice it, sometimes our opponent will kick, we'll clash, and your legs can get a little bit of a tangle. Yeah? You can call it what you want. I call this a clash battle. Yeah? So you end up having a little battle. So that's another way. So without Sarah, that's another way that you can practice, almost like pick up, arms in a good position, battle, 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 and back down. Okay? Battle, 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 kick out, back down. Yeah? So if Sarah kicks me here, bam, 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 down, wait. So 2-3 seconds of a battle, yeah, and then we can put it down and kick off it. Give us 1 minute, guys. We've got some kids invading.
Out. Naughty. Stop it.
Okay, number 3. Number 3, clinch. And we can turn this clinch or short distance. Yeah, so I would say, obviously clinch is obvious, chest to chest. I kick it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, your toe.
So clinch is obvious. We're here and we're chest to chest. Anywhere from here to probably here, I would say this is the single most important distance in Karugi at the moment. This is where most points come from. Anywhere from like here to here. Yeah. The days of being far away, and flying in with a kick, woof, exactly, yeah, flying in with a kick, you end up getting hit. Then days are gone. So you have to try to find a way to end up in this short distance and be effective. Okay, so for me, it's the single most important distance that we've got. Now, you can key,
Best leg.
best leg, yeah. So key things, guys, when you get to the clinch, you want to be solid. Yeah, so hand position, foot position, you want to try and be solid and compact here. Sometimes I see people with the arms over and then Sarah's in control then, yeah? Or I see people, they might do a punch and this leg comes up and then they stay. Then you can be pushed easily, yeah? So as soon as the clinch happens, you want to get into this solid position where you're controlling the body, able to kick. If, so, what we got? Stay tight. Next one, when you kick, try to stay tight unless you're going to set up. Okay, so as an example, if I'm here and I manage to score a kick, guys, this isn't pretty. Sorry for the traditionalists out there, yeah, I'm sorry, but you have to try to get your foot on that pad, bam. Oh, sorry. And try to get that foot, bam, on the pad and back safe, yeah? If I move back, then it gives your opponent opportunity to hit you, yeah? So here we have to be like bam and back tight, or bam, bam, back tight, yeah? The only time I say you should move back is if you're setting up, yeah? So you can do that. If I'm here and I come, okay, bam, if we're going to set up for another technique. So we can move back and invite this person to come. Then I think that's a good strategy. Otherwise, we don't move back. Last couple of things for clinch.
You're so naughty.
Last couple of things, guys, for clinch.
Very naughty.
Most people, or a lot of members where I've done sessions, have got like a bag or a bob or something like that, so it's perfect. If you haven't, then I think still them key messages that I've given there. I've been trying to think of ways that we could do it. So remember, we don't want people to move back. So we could use a boundary, like a wall, yeah, just to practice the technique. So we could use this boundary here, yeah, so I can't go kick and there's no way to go, yeah. So any techniques you want to do, you can use here. Any techniques, but they haven't got there's no boundary. Sorry, that's a boundary, so they don't move back. So that's one good way of practicing. I think another good way, the kicks that you ask them to do are short. They're quite short, ugly techniques, if I'm honest. So you can use a wall the opposite way. Yeah, so here is behind you to work. Here it can be in front of you to work. Yeah, and we try and get in this position, this solid position, and see that we can manage. Bam, to get our legs up here. Bam, yeah, bam, whatever it is. Nice short. And like I said, it's not pretty, so apologies. But yeah, very, very effective. So yeah, there's a couple of ways that you can practice clinch if your members haven't got a bob or a bag or a partner, brother, sister, or a parent who's willing to be kicked.
Or a wife.
Or a wife. Okay, give me 1 minute. And the last one, leg control. It's okay. Okay, guys. So, pretty much every club I've seen now does leg control. Yeah. So, just want to try and give some tips that might help. Generally, guys who are really good at pump really amazing at leg control. I see a lot of athletes doing it, but it all looks kind of similar. So I just want to try and give some different tips or variations that you could do. Okay, so most people, they'll go on the wall, they'll get a knee in a chamber position because that's how we should kick, and then I might throw out 5 techniques or whatever you ask them to do. Okay, that's perfect. That's absolutely fine. Just trying to think of how we can make it more effective, especially for competition. You're not always in that nice position. Right? You're not always in that nice position to be able to kick. So try, if you can, to play with like the depth of the kick or the angle of the kick, or even kicking out of position a little bit. Okay, so as an example, you know, you might try and get them to kick really short. You might try and get them to kick deep. You might try and get them to kick offline, different angles. You know, out of position. So rather than being in a good position, you can say, let's imagine your leg gets knocked and we pick back up. Yeah, back, we pick back up. Okay, so different ways of doing your leg control. Second thing, try and spend or give as much focus to your base as your kicking leg. Yeah, so it's not all about this one. This one's got a job to do as well. Okay, so it's, you know, your glutes, your core, everything nice and tight. So try and spend a lot of time on there. So not even kicking, you can just pick up, but get athletes moving with that knee in a chamber position as good as they can. You could create exercises where they've got to jump like that, bam, bam. So you're just working on all on this base side. It's not just about the kicking leg, yeah? It's about your base and your anchor. Yeah, and then last one for leg control. Again, the options or the opportunity to link it to your movement. You know, it could be like we do a technique and then we travel after somebody. Yeah, still all in a, what have we got? A 3 meter space or something like that. Yeah, so you can link it all the time back to your movement. So that's my 4 main themes. I'm going to go through my other ideas. Might be a little crazy, but we'll see. So I was trying to think of some different things that we could do, almost to give us a little break in some way. Like I said, a couple of instructors have said to me, am I supposed to know what to do? I've never been through this. So I was thinking, can we do something where our members almost lead a little bit? So as an example, I could give one exercise whereby I'm the instructor and I do a technique towards the camera and all my members have to block. So whatever technique I do, my members have to block, whatever the technique is. Yeah, bam, they have to block or move, whatever you choose. Then you can go round, right? Little Johnny, you're the leader now, little Johnny. Everybody block little Johnny's kicks. I think that's a good way we could do it. If you want to, you could build on and say, rather than just blocking, you have to do a counter technique. So if they kick towards you, bam, can we do a counter technique to their action? And again, you can choose different people to lead. I think, and you know, that can buy you a lot of time and give different people a chance of being a little leader. One other idea I had, depends if you're brave enough to do it, for me, but I was always thinking, because some coaches have said to me, I don't really know what to do. So I'm half thinking, is anyone brave enough to do a session where we don't even do any kicks? Yeah, and what I mean by that, very often, very regularly at the academy, I get all of the athletes into a meeting room and we'll talk about tactics. And before you know it, like an hour has gone easily. You know, so I'm going to use a little example. I've seen Siva was on the call before, and apologies, Siva, but I saw last week on social media that 5 of Siva's members have been selected for like a European university competition next year. Congrats, Siva. But yeah, I'm thinking, if you've got a team of 5 clearly good athletes, because they're going to represent their country somewhere, clearly smart athletes, You know, I'm thinking if you've got a group of 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, you like to compete, could you just create a situation? So you could say, right, next session on Friday, for 30 minutes of the session or the whole session, you're going to speak about a scenario, as in, you know, we've got an opponent who's really aggressive with their front leg and they're on you all the time and they're really aggressive. What can we do? Yeah, and all you have to do then is just facilitate the conversation. You don't necessarily even need to know the answers because, you know, maybe we're experienced, old, whatever you want to call it, but you kind of form the answers in your own mind. If you throw it out to youngsters who were fresh, they were like, can I do this? Can I do that? And you'd be like, yes, yeah, you can. Yeah, that would work. So I think there's opportunity. Like I said, I do it all the time. You know, I'll get the guys together, we'll speak about tactics, and before you know it, 40 minutes is gone or an hour's gone. I think it's another opportunity, another way maybe to keep people engaged. I also think it's potentially not even just for, you know, Karugi. If your club specialises in self-defence or something, then you could give a similar scenario. Somebody gets you from behind in some type of hold. What could we do? And I think, yeah, it's another option just to try and, I suppose, buy us some time and buy us a break and put some ownership onto the athletes and our members to try and be a little leader themselves. And then, yeah, my last thing from me, I'll just say, let me see. Yeah, some people have said to me, I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over. And I would just try and say to that, it's kind of okay. I think, you know, by nature of what we do, if you want to be an expert or you want to be a master or whatever, then there's kind of a lot of repetition in what we do anyway. If we're honest, our club, our sessions are probably quite, probably repetitive, like the sessions that we put on. So yeah, just because it's because we're in lockdown, I don't think it doesn't mean we have to be super creative now. Like if I was in you guys' position and you had to put like sessions on for your members, I'd probably try and design a 3 or 4 week block and then just repeat it. You know, if you were to repeat that 3 or 4 times, then we're out of lockdown and everyone's back doing what they love. You know, I think I was saying at the start about motivation and commitment. You know, motivation is really up and down. I have great days, I have bad days. To be honest, I have great mornings, I have bad afternoons. You know, like it's a terrible time, you know, at the moment. So it is really up and down. But I think commitment, if you commit to something, it's there. You commit and then you decided, I'm going to do this. If you're going through these sessions about like, I'm doing it, but I don't really want to do it, it's going to really drag. I really think if I was in your situation, I would put a 3 or 4 week block together. You know, maybe the themes of the sessions, you can tweak what they do a little bit, but I put a 3 or 4 week block together, repeat it 3 or 4 times, commit to it, and then hopefully it doesn't drag as much and we're out of it pretty soon. That's me. I am, because you threw me in here and I didn't really time it, so I don't know if I've gone over. I'm not sure, but yeah, hopefully that was useful for everyone. Like I said, apologies if it was too much focused on Karugi or too basic for what you think. But like I said, honestly, you can't do too much basics. You know, I think it's it will make a lot of athletes, they come to the academy and I have to try and teach them these things. You know, so yeah, you can never put enough time into that. Yeah, last thing, like I said at the start, it's been really good for me this time to try and reconnect a little bit, and this is a good opportunity for me to do that as well. So thanks again. Hopefully it was useful, and you know, if there potentially is a lot of questions, then I don't know what Ian will say, but you know, I'm more than happy to put my name and email in the chat box, and you know, you guys can get in touch as and when you see fit. So
thank you very, very much, Steve. That was brilliant, and a big thanks to Sarah as well. Buy one, get one free. Fantastic.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. And, you know, I know a lot of you guys, coaches, Karugi is not your specialism, but, you know, this is top shelf stuff from one of the best Karugi coaches in the world. And you should be thinking about how you can, you know, translate some of these ideas for content for your sessions as much as you can. As Steve said, we have the chat box there. So if Steve has the opportunity to look at this while he's corralling children with Sarah and just answer some of the comments, that would be really good. But if not, then we'll try and get your questions answered later on, and then we'll post them on the website. So the key message, as Steve said again and again, is think about what you're doing, plan what you're doing. Content is key here, and as long as you keep it simple, keep it varied, you will find people will be very, very grateful under these circumstances, especially children, because it's tough. Those of us have got children to homeschool and to entertain, so please don't undervalue the part that you can play and the product that you actually have as a sports coach and a martial arts coach. And I know I've touched on this before about how important, just for people's mental health, it is to keep in touch with folks. And the martial arts attributes, the tenets of Taekwondo are really, really important there as well. It's not just about waving our arms and legs around. But I'll move straight on to Phill. Are you with us, Phill? And
we'll give it another try. One of the things that I've just realised after listening to Steve, some great tips there, and I think I'll be handing on some ownership to my more advanced players to get involved a little bit more. But one of the other things that struck me was the amount of different hats that we've got to wear as Taekwondo coaches. So a great session there about sport Taekwondo. And then I've got my first talk, which is about basically marketing using Facebook. And then straight after that, then we're on to sort of development stuff for the younger age kids. It's a lot of different hats to wear. Let's see if I can share this now. Yeah, it looks like it should work. Can you see that? Good. Okay. Okay, guys and girls. So the first session is on Facebook marketing. Most of you have seen me before. Just in case, my name's Phill. I've been training since 1990. Opened up my first club in '96. And eventually then went sort of full-time in around 2008. Currently we've got 2 schools, full-time venues, and before that I was just teaching part-time alongside my IT career, if you like. We had, up until the break, we had about 500 members. Obviously that's a bit lower now, but hopefully we'll be able to get that back up again after. Okay, so the first session on the Facebook marketing, I've got sort of 4 objectives for this. Obviously the overall objective is to get new people through the door. So what we're looking at is the customer journey, followed by setting up a Facebook marketing campaign, and then how you take bookings, because there's several different ways that you can do that. And then the 4th one is something that not many people do, which is the actual retargeting part. So quickly onto the first bit. So if you just went up to somebody in the street and said, buy my product, you probably won't get many takers. So what we need to do is build up this know, like and trust that gets commonly thrown around in marketing these days. And it's just basically a way of warming up your audience. And what we're looking at doing is taking from cold, where they've never heard of you before, they might not even know you exist in the community, all the way through to warm, where they've had maybe some interactions with you, they've liked a few comments, they might have heard of you from the friends, all the way up to hot, which is where you've had interaction with them, they have come to a session, or they've bought from you before. So that's what we're looking at, moving them from cold to warm and then to hot. Now, to set up a campaign on Facebook, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. The most basic way is to go onto a post that you've already got and then just hitting that boost. And what that does is it goes out then, and its objective is to get reach. There's lots of different outcomes that you can look to get from Facebook, and the boost post is the equivalent of setting up a reach objective one. Now, if you want to do something other than reach, then the best way to do that is through Business Manager. So if you went to Google now and typed in Business Manager, it'd probably come up with Facebook's campaign structure, if you like, where you've got at the top level, you've got the campaign level, and then the ad set level, because you can have different ad sets running at the same time, all the way down to the actual ads themselves. So starting at the top, at the campaign level, you've got the campaign objective. So if you say to Facebook that you want to get people that want to message you so you can have that interaction with them and then try and book them into a session from there, then you'd select message. Okay, Facebook could go out and try and match it up with the other criteria that you've set for your audience with the people that actually interact by messages. So this is different from if you were trying to set up something where you were trying to get likes on your page, which is not a very good metric anyway, to be honest. So I've not got it on here, but if you guys have done it before where you've asked everybody to like your Facebook page, try not to do that. What you're after is you want people to like your page that are going to be prospects, that are going to ultimately sign up for your service. So getting a friend somewhere in Dubai to like your page is probably going to be wasted ad revenue if later on you target people that have liked your page. You want them to be local to you, so the potential client. You can also set at the campaign level your daily amount and your lifetime budget. So this is basically a daily amount. It runs as long as you set it to run, or you can have it running indefinitely, or you can set a lifetime budget and say put an ad on for a campaign on for 7 days and then have a lifetime budget limit, and then Facebook will work out for that duration and that lifetime budget how much to spend a day, if you like. Now, generally, the more that you put on the ads, the more that you're going to get out of it. Now, it's no use just going on and say, especially now Facebook marketing is a lot more mature and there's a lot more people doing it. If there's a lot more demand, then generally the cost goes up. So there's no point going in and saying, okay, I'm going to put £5 on for 7 days or something like that. I used to put £20 a day on for between 4 days usually, or 4 to 7 days really. The problem is as well, if you put it on for a small number of days, i.e. 1, 2 or 3 days, then the Facebook algorithm doesn't get time to work out how to target the audience that you want. Now, at the ad set level, this is where you schedule how long the ad's going to last, and then on top of that, you then look at your audience. Now, this is probably the number one reason why so many people have moved to Facebook marketing. It's because you're able to tie down the audience down to a minute level. Now, this used to be more open in terms of the attributes that you could set after the sort of the voting, the election scandal where people were using that data to sway people to vote. They took some of the options away, but the options that are still there are still really good. The best thing is to make sure that you tie it down to a small area, because we're a local business. You're not going to get people under normal circumstances traveling 10 miles to come and train with you. So I'd suggest that you tie that down to, I tend to tie it down to either 4 miles or 6k, 6 kilometers, but that might vary depending on where you are. In London, you probably want it smaller. If you're out in the sticks, you probably want it wider. Okay. The custom audience, will come back to that when we look at the retargeting. The placement part of your ad set is where you are going to appear. So for me, I tend to just tie it down to Facebook, but if you're active on Instagram, then you might want to expand it, because Facebook owns Instagram as well. There's a tie in there and you can advertise to both at once. You can say that you want to advertise on Instagram stories, Facebook feed. There's lots of different options there, but I tend to just go for the Facebook feed. In terms of the ad, when you're putting the ad together, you can either make a post on your page that you use as an advert, or you can actually create a ghost advert that you don't see on your page, but it's going out to the audience that you've set. I tend to create the post on the page so I can see it, look at it, even get a little bit of likes going on it from people that have shared it and seen the content on that page before, and then I'm hoping that helps me then when I put the advert out to get better reach, if you like, as people have already liked it and commented on it. ADA stands for, it's an acronym that stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. Okay, so these are the 4 things you need to think about when you're putting an advert together. This is a very old, decades old acronym that's been around for a long time. And even though it's used in print, it's exactly the same in digital media as well. So you need to get their attention. That's normally a headline. It could be a photo. You need to then develop that into interest, so they're actually looking to look more into what you're selling. And then from there, you want to have a desire. So that might be by pushing the benefits of your product and service, of which there are many, obviously, in Taekwondo. And then you need to tell them what to do. So this is where the action part comes in. You need to tell them what to do. Now, don't put your email address on there, your Facebook page, and every 15 different methods of connecting with you. Just put 1 or 2 and tell them. Inquire now to get free uniform, or whatever it is that you want them to do. You have to tell them. When you select your image, make sure that your image is very clear. Images are going to be really important. If you've just got one person in the background and they're sort of lost in that overall image, if you like, that it's not going to stand out. It needs to be quite close up, very clear. Make sure the color balance is right. Everything needs to be good with the image, and it's worth spending a little bit of time over it. Let me move this. Oh, yeah. If you're putting text on the image, be careful. If you go over a certain percentage, I can't remember if it's 15 or 20%, then Facebook won't run that ad. So if you're putting text on the image, be very careful. Use it very sparingly. Copy is the actual what you're putting in the text. Keep it snappy. Don't use too many of the little emojis as well. Keep it quite simple. You want to be to the point, so it's not too woolly, so that take action. Now, video, you can, if you've got some really good videos as well, you can put video on there, and you can also post that as an advert too. So you can share it on your Facebook page, and then from there you can share it as an ad and put some money on it to get reach. The problem that we've got is with Facebook that if you are just posting on your Facebook page, the reach is something like, out of all the people that have liked it, I think it's less than 1% now will actually see it. So it's very, very small. So this is obviously because they want you to spend money on Facebook ads. Okay, next. Oops. Okay, so taking bookings, generally in the past, what we've tended to have done is we ask people to message us. So when we select the objective, we have a message us button. But what tends to happen a lot of the time as well is that people comment on that thread too. Now, if they comment on that thread, follow up with them, send a message, like it to let, if you've got other people that are answering these messages, if you like it, then the other people will know that you've actually answered it. And then from there, you can start a conversation and build up the know, like, and trust, and then invite them down to a session if that's what you're trying to get them to do. Now, there's a couple of other methods as well. You can create a Facebook form where it creates a spreadsheet, basically, a CSV file, which is like a mini spreadsheet that will have all the contact details in, and then you can phone them and contact them individually after. Now, there's another method as well, which is basically sending them to a landing page where your conversion will be higher. It's basically a page, like a web page that's created just to convert people from looking at your service to becoming a member and becoming a customer. So that's another method, a little bit more complicated. Now, retargeting. Okay, so this is the bit that most people miss out. If we're going to build this know, like, and trust, and you're spending all your time basically putting money on an ad to get in front of people that don't know you, then your conversion rate will be quite low. So what you need to do is move through this know, like, and trust, building up that relationship with them. And to do that, you need to retarget these people. They say on average that somebody needs to see your advert or interact with your material, 7, 8, 9, even more times today, especially on Facebook, where the adverts are just passing them by all the time. So these 4 methods here are different ways of retargeting people. I'll mention Pixel, but it's a little bit more difficult. You put a little piece of code on your website, and what happens then is that you're able to retarget the people that visited your website. So I won't say much more about that, but an email list is, you can take an email list of people that have already inquired offline maybe, and you can import that into Facebook and then retarget them people via their email list. The page one is probably one of the main ways of doing it. If you put out adverts and you put out a lot of material and people are interactive with that, with those adverts and your normal posts on your page, you can actually go into Facebook and say, create me a list of everybody that's visited my page, liked, commented, whatever it is in the last 30 days, and then put this ad in front of them. So it could be along the lines of you cold posts going out and you cold ads, and then on the back of that, then once you've let all that run its course, then you send out another ad saying, oh, you were interested in our martial arts centre. Have you found somewhere for your child to do martial arts yet? And then from there, you can obviously carry on retargeting them people. This is something that's done quite a lot, and sometimes a combination of these things is the reason why you look at something on eBay and then wherever you go and this advert seems to follow you around. That's mainly due to the Facebook pixel, but it's also through other methods as well. The video views is quite a good one, with video being so popular these days. What you can do with this is put a video out there that gives a good summary of your club, and then what you can do is target people on the percentage of video that they've watched. So if somebody watches your video that you put out as a promo for your club and they watch it all the way to the end, then obviously there's a high percentage that are actually interested in coming down and trying what you've got to offer. If they jump off it straight away, then possibly not. So this is a really good method to retarget people that are already interested, if you like. Now, at the bottom there, we've got lookalike audiences. So this is a special audience, if you like, that Facebook offers, which is basically you can base any of your audiences that you create, your custom audiences, using these different methods that we've got here, or any others, and you can say, Facebook, I've got all these people here, can you create me a lookalike audience that looks like that? Okay, and then Facebook goes off and tries to match the demographics and everything else, the buying habits, and the other metrics that you've stated as well, and creates a totally new audience. Now, obviously, if you're targeting parents for a little kids class or something like that, then it'll match it other people in the area with similar demographics. So this is a really good method of creating a new audience that you've not targeted before. Okay, moving on. Okay, so that's it for the Facebook marketing. It's quite a crash course. I try to keep it down in terms of the number of slides that we've got. The best way to do it is basically just get on there and have a go. Now, in terms of building up the know, like, and trust, now is a really good time to, if you've got good content going out on your Facebook page, just put a little bit of money on it. This bit can be very small, and basically what you're doing is you're building up the reach of people that know about you for when you need to advertise when we go back. At the moment, because there's not masses of people out there advertising on Facebook, the cost is quite low. Now, as soon as we go back and all the leisure facilities go back as well, then everybody's going to be trying to advertise on Facebook at the same time. If you're all going to cold leads and a cold market, if you like, then it's going to cost a lot more than it is now. So better to put the feelers out now and get the interaction now. Or you could leave it until, say, a month before or something like that. But don't forget, you can go back and target anybody that's interacted with your page for months. Okay, moving on.
Phill,
okay.
Before you do move on to the next topic, I guess one of the big questions that I've got, and I'm sure others that don't necessarily use Facebook as a marketing tool, is, how valuable in your toolbox of getting the word out, attracting new members, how effective is Facebook advertising to you as a business in your area?
I'd say it's the easiest and most cost effective by far of all the methods, barring the only other method that I think is sort of similar is having a website that's optimized for search. Because if that's done correctly, then you could be having leads, say 20 or more leads coming in every month for people that are actually looking to hire your services. Right. Apart from that, if you think of this method as in on search and using your website and optimization, you're looking at people that are actively going out trying to find you. Whereas Facebook, you're getting in front of them and saying, oh, you could be interested in this. So there's two different methods of attack with this. But this one, if last time we put an advert out, we might have communicated with, we probably spent about £220 or something. We've probably communicated with, say, 80 people. And from that, then we probably booked in around 60, and then probably about 45 turned up, and we ended up signing up about 30 to 35 people or something like that. And if you talk about the lifetime value of one student, then that easy pays for itself, and many times over. And you don't even have to leave your house and go posting leaflets through doors or anything along those lines. So it's
worth getting interesting, that, Phill, because I guess a lot of Taekwondo people's model is good old-fashioned word of mouth, and one student brings the next, and a family member turns up. And when you're talking about those kind of conversion rates of people that you had no contact with at all prior to putting something out on Facebook. So our advice to a lot of you is, especially now, again, that second comment of don't wait necessarily until everything starts back up and then it becomes a very noisy marketplace where everybody's trying to start their engines and get the clubs going again. Maybe now is the time to where people are sat in their armchairs with the devices to get in front of people. And very interesting. I
mean, one of the things as well is that if you think that if somebody's got really good retention and they get a lot of new customers through referrals, then if your product stays the same and your service stays the same, and you go out and get another 30 people, then that's another 30 people that are going to go out and refer you to others. So you sort of you're leveraging, if you like, new people to the same extent as you are your current members.
Very interesting. If anyone has any questions for Phill, please throw them on the chat group, and we will try and get them all answered either before the end of the session, or if not, we'll get the answers together and post them on the BT website. So thanks for that, Phill. Very detailed as ever, and I'm sure some people's heads are starting to spin. Do you want to move on to the next?
Yes, can do. Okay, so this next one is based on the fact that it's not necessarily designed the presentation for people that are teaching over Zoom and digitally, but there's some ideas in here that will give you some variation on what you're delivering, and some of the stuff will be applicable to older children as well, although I've designed it for the younger children end, because that's the sort of field that I'm working in at the moment and focused on. Now, primary schools are scheduled to go back in June, beginning of June, I think it is. Whether they will do or not, everything changes every day, but all we can do is prepare for the kids to go back in June, and then possibly, I think we're scheduled to start to take up from July, beginning of July. I think it could all change tomorrow, but all we can do is prepare. Now, the children will probably be one of the first to go back to the leisure. The parents and the older people might be a little bit more, because they could potentially be a bit more susceptible to the virus. They may not go back as quickly necessarily. Now, if you are going to change any of your programs, any of your children's programs, then now's the time to do it. If you've thought about doing extra programs in the past, then this is the time to sit down, plan it out, and then design not just the programs, but how you're going to roll it out, and then plan it for a date. And then when that date comes along, you'll be ready to roll then. Okay, so I came up with these for a children's program I'm working on at the moment. I have been for the last few years, to be honest. But we came up with these five key objectives, basically, that we want to get out in a program for the children. Now, this came from speaking to other coaches and other instructors, not just in Taekwondo, but from different martial arts as well. Now, obviously, to keep these children interested, it's got to be fun. And that goes right to the top. And on top of that as well, if it can help you as a club owner increase your retention and therefore your revenue on top of that as well, then that's a bonus. And then on top of that, not only do we need the children to be motivated, but we need the parents on side as well. So it's got to show value for parents. If the parents don't see the value, they'll stop the kids coming, or the time that they say, I don't want to go, they'll just go, oh, you don't have to go then. And same with the kids as well. If we don't keep them engaged and they're not having fun, then the parent will only push so much before they say, "Oh, I'm not going to take you anymore if you don't want to go." Now, the sessions need to be easy to plan and quite simple, if you like. Although I've over-engineered the what I'll show you at the end, it doesn't have to be to that level. You want to keep it as fun for you to deliver and as easy to plan as possible. If it's not right for the parents, it's not right for the child, and it's not right for you, if any of them three things drop out, then it won't last. It won't last. You won't be able to stick with it. And the K is for the knowledge of age-appropriate content, if you like. And then on top of that, how you deliver that content. Today, I'm specifically working on the actual content and the physical side. I could deliver a 2-day course on the whole program. So I'm just focusing on the physical side for today. Now, this is a bit of an overview. Core areas of a children's programming, the way that I've put it together and the way that I've seen some of the other better program development people put their kids programs together in the past. So from a technical point of view, you've got sports specific skills, in this case martial arts specific. Then you've got your physical attributes, if you like, for the children to develop, which are made up of your fundamental movement skills, your ABCs, which has been popular for a lot of years, and on top of that as well, functional body movements like basics like a squat and a press up and things like that. And although we don't do them functional body movements with the 3 to 4 year olds, they still come about through the games and stuff that we play, even if it's like the animal game where they're walking on all fours up to the top and back, being a lion or whatever it is on their hands and knees. So they get these movements through that as well without specifically spelling out to do a press up or whatever it is. In terms of the education, we don't go into the ins and outs of physical literacy with the little kids, but we want them to understand why it's good for them to be exercising and how that can affect them health-wise. So it's good to connect them dots a little bit so they understand the benefits from that. And on top of that as well, like a lot of people delivering these kids to these sessions to the younger children, we have a set of 12 key skills that we work on with the children, not just by talking about the skill, but sort of implementing changes within the session that reflects what you're talking about. So that not just talking about the kids will just say what they say to get the badge or whatever it is. What you need them to do is have them live it in the session, if you like. And then the psychological benefits such as growth mindset, grit, the ability to, if anybody's read the marshmallow test, the ability to put off gratification is really important in terms of people sticking with things and getting to the end objective. So getting these sort of positive psychological characteristics down earlier is done through the sessions, not just by telling them about them again, but getting them to act them out, if you like. And then obviously with the younger kids, especially the 3 to 4 year olds, we're looking at them developing the social skills. When they first come into a class, they may not have been in an environment where they've had to take turns before. So taking turns might be something new, not talking while the instructor's talking. There's lots of little mini skills that we take for granted that need delivering at this youngest age. Okay, so the physical aspects, with the 3 to 4 year olds, we break it down to 3 to 4 and 5 to 6s. But if you have a 4 to 6 year old group, then just take the 5 to 6 year old and that'll work okay. So the 3 to 4s, we tend to simplify things. Like I said, we don't have them doing press-ups and things like that. Most of their activity is movement-based in terms of physical aspects. Then balance, coordination, and strength in there as well. Now, over the years, there's been some discussion on whether strength can be developed at early ages and whether it should be developed at early ages. But the research coming out from, there's a youth development model by 2 guys called Lloyd and Oliver, strength and conditioning guys, and they went back and they looked at it from the youngest age onwards, and the evidence shows that you can start to work on the strength stuff quite easy. And I'm not talking about pressing dumbbells above your head and barbells and stuff. With the 3 to 4 year olds, we stole some content from the gymnastics, which is holding certain body positions, so it's mostly core work, and that tends to work really well for the 3 to 4 year olds and helps build up that core strength. On the 5 to 6 year olds, movement, balance, coordination, strength, speed, flexibility, power, and agility. I'm not going to go into details on these, but you'll understand from the word in most cases what that is. So the basic technical elements that we tend to use the stances, hand and elbow techniques, blocks, kicking and kneeing, and that's about it. With us youngest kids, we don't do any sparring, we don't do any self-defense based exercises as such. We keep it as basic as we can so we can keep everybody engaged. And the syllabus as well for us at this age in the 3 to 4s and 5 to 6s is non-contact. So they'll play TIG and stuff like that in the 5 to 6s, collision avoidance exercises and things and games, but we won't do actual kicking each other type thing. In fact, to be honest, it's our preference that we don't mention the fact that these techniques can be used on each other. In fact, we periodically have a talk when they first come onto the programme, and then periodically during the programme we'll be saying that the kicking and punching is for the pads only, and not the pets and not the uncles and not the mums and dads and such and brothers and sisters. So we get that out straight away. And then as they move up to the junior taekwondo, we then put a body protector head guard on them and say go kick each other. But you know that we get the control down first, if you like, in the Dragons program, the kids program. Now I'm starting off at the end, if you like, when you're looking at creating drills, if you like, for this age group, then we've got a specific way of setting these up. Now it was after doing through some training with somebody called Melody Schumann. Melody, she created the Little Ninjas program back in 1999 or 2000, I think it was, and she's developed that now into something called Skills, which is probably the biggest kids program in the world. She's got about 1,200 members, I think, now, of different clubs and stuff based in the States, and just reflected on how we teach the drills in our sessions, based on what Melody had this idea of creating a set format to everybody to follow, and we thought that's a really good idea. So we went back to our own way of developing the drills and delivering the drills, and we came up with this little structure. So set up the drill, get all the equipment ready, obviously make sure the equipment can't be touched by the kids because they'll start just playing with it and ignoring you. Name the drill, give it a fun name that the kids can relate to. If you're not sure when you're first setting this up, get the kids to come up with names. Okay, and this gets buy-in from the children and a look to say the next time you've got an activity and you're working on that area, or can we play so and so? You want them excited about it, so give them a little bit of ownership and get them to help create the names for the drills. Explain the objective. So each drill should have an objective. Whatever that is, it might be that you're trying not to crash into each other, i.e. collision avoidance. It could be that you're working on the agility and the backwards forwards and you've got a little race going on. And then model the drill. So this doesn't have to be done by you. It can be done by one of the kids. It can be done by one of the assistants that you've got in the class. Don't give them any more than 3 coaching points. For the 3 to 4 year olds, it might even be less. With the 3 to 4 year olds, they'll only remember 1 or 2 a lot of the time. With the 5 to 6 year olds, they'll manage 3 okay. So you can give them 3 coaching points, and then when you're coaching the drill, you can reiterate the 3 coaching points. Now, sometimes there might not be a lot of enthusiasm to do the drill to start with, so join in the drill yourself, explain the drill, demonstrate it, and then while they're actually doing the drill, just jump in and do it with them. Okay, you're never too old to join in on these things. It's a bit of fun as well, it gets you involved. And then the last bit is to close the drill. And generally for us, when we close the drill, we get all the children to pick up the equipment and bring it back in for us. And generally when the girls, if Jessica's leading a class or something, she might be saying, okay, who's sitting the smartest? Okay, Freddie, jump in, can you collect me all the cones? And run off and get all the cones. So their reward for behaving well is to go off and help you pack the equipment away. And it's also good for the parents to see that as well, obviously. So this is a set way. Now, you may take these steps and you may change it for your environment, and that's fine. It's just a set way that we tend to deliver. Now, on the session planning, the 3 to 4 year olds, we tend to keep them to 30 minutes. When we first started delivering to this age group about, when was it, 2010, I think it was, about 10 years ago, one of the parents asked us when we first started it to do 45 minutes, to do 45 minutes, like we do the 5 6s. And what happened was we lost them at about 35 minutes. They started just wandering off and doing their own thing. And about 6 months after that, when we'd set at 30 minutes, one of the parents, a different one, asked again if we could try 45 minutes. Same happened again. So we tend to do 30 minutes for the 3 to 4s and then 45 minutes for the 5 to 6s. If you've got a 4 to 6 year old group, which is a common group, then 45 minutes is fine for them as well. Start the session, and when you're planning the session especially, start with an objective. Don't just do the old school like we used to do 10 years ago, just do an obstacle course and then do some kicking and then randomly do something, and try to plan it out and have objectives like you would do for your other sessions that you lead in Taekwondo, whether it's sport or any other type of Taekwondo session. Alternate with this age group, their attention span tends to be quite small. So what we tend to do is alternate every 5 minutes between activities. And we alternate between a fun multi-skills based game, a fundamental movement skill type game, where we're working on something specific, but it's in the form of a game. And then we'll flick it to a more technical aspect of the martial arts, and then we'll come back again. So we tend to do that every 5 minutes to keep their attention. And what you tend to find is that the sessions go really quickly when you're doing this. Try to finish on a high if you can. So right at the end, if you've got a good fun game in that session, try to deliver that right at the end. So they go away with that warm, sweaty feeling when they leave the room, and they're happy, and the parents see that, and it's all good. Plan to differentiate. So differentiation is basically, if you've not come across this before, if you've got a kid that's struggling to do something, then regress that activity back for them. Okay, just so the kids would do this if they were playing in the field and playing football themselves or rugby or whatever else. They come up with their own rules to make it so that everybody can join in. And all you're doing is doing the same thing in a class environment, if you like. And sometimes that needs to go the other way, where one of the kids, they do gymnastics or something and it's really easy and you've got to make it harder for them, and that's fine. So this is a session structure that we use. We tend to alternate. If you look on the right and you see the 5, 6 or 4 to 6 year olds, we tend to alternate every 5 minutes between a physical activity. We do a little bit of flexibility at the beginning, dynamic stretching. We don't do that with 3 to 4s, don't really need it for the activity that they're doing. And then the technical aspect is then alternated with the physical aspect all the way down. The academic bit at the bottom, that's another angle that we try to use. So during the games, we'll use numbers, we will use letters, we will use colours. We've got some boards on the wall that have got different animals on. So it may be as easy as, I want 3 punches and run up to the top and touch the lion. And we'll change it like that. We've got beanbags with shapes on that we use, and the shapes on the wall as well. So we'll use all these sort of little extras, if you like, to get them prepared for primary school if they're of that age. And it's just something else that you can use as part of the activity as well. Now, this is normally what tends to happen, especially in the UK, is that everybody uses a linear curriculum where everything is set out. You can do this belt, you achieve this standard in these techniques, and then you go on to the next one, then you go on to the next one. But the system that we tend to use, everything's quite flat, so that if they can do in the 3 to 4 year olds a straight punch going straight forwards, then generally they can do a hammer fist. So we tend to keep the 3 to 4s and the 5 to 6s sort of bunched together in terms of the level that the techniques are delivered at, if you like. And what that allows us to do then is to have a rotating curriculum. Now, with a rotating curriculum, point 1 on the advantages is it's useful where the skill level is flat across the board, so that you're not building on something else that they've done before. Now, what this basically means is that in this next 3 months, for instance, we'll move on. We'll be working on these specific techniques, and we'll focus on these. We will do other content that's rotated through, but we'll focus on specific techniques, and then everybody tests on them techniques at the end of that 3 month period, if you like. And then you go on to the next block. Everybody's working on the same thing again for the next block. Now, if somebody comes in when you're on block 3 or something like that, then as long as they stick with it, they end up rotating back round to complete the curriculum. So the belts basically stop becoming I'm at this level, this level, this level in terms of their technical ability, and they are more about the amount of curriculum in your syllabus that they've covered. And what that means is that if you've been in a class before where you've got 6 different patterns to teach 6 different lots of people, it can be quite difficult. Now, if you replace them people with 3 and 4 and 5 year olds, then it's a whole new world of hurt. So this is how you can get by teaching the same thing and having everybody do the same thing, if you like. And testing's much easier as well, because they're all doing the same thing in the gradings as well. Now, the disadvantages of the rotating curriculum is that it requires a bit of setting up to start with, and it takes some time and effort. But once it's set up, then you're good to go. You need buy-in from the current students for the change, but depending on how you teach, that might be easy, it might be a little bit harder. It can be a little bit tricky if somebody misses a grading, because obviously you're on to the next block then. So you need to sort of have some sort of make-up grading for that, if you like. But it may be that with your Dragons kids, your younger age kids, that it's quite a loose syllabus, so that it doesn't matter if they miss that one. They'll have covered everything anyway by the time they move up, even if they've not hit every single grading, if you like. Now, this is the final slide. It looks a little bit overwhelming, but this is a full rotation of what we've got planned. Now, you can see if we look at the 5 to 6 year olds, 4 to 6 year olds on rotation 1. So we will focus on 2 physical areas. So in this one, physical 1, you've got locomotion there. So basically movement type exercises. And then if you look further down, then physical 2 is agility. So locomotion and agility will work on twice within a session. They can be, created from games or anything else. You can have specific activities for the 5 to 6 year olds that are a bit more physically based. So you might be doing some strength stuff that's based on full body movements, or it may be that you're developing this sort of training, if you like, in these different physical areas within games. So it doesn't have to be specifically, you're doing physical exercises that they recognise as press-ups or whatever it is. And then within that session, we'll also rotate through the academic stuff as well, so that the instructors will be planning to rotate in these different areas like the numbers and letters, next time left and right, body parts and animals, colours and shapes, and you're just using them within the session interchangeably. Then on when you look at rotation 2, then it moves on to the next bit, stabilisation, so balance type stuff. We say stabilisation rather than balance because we include landings, so when they're jumping off flyer boxes onto the floor and things like that, or off pads or whatever it is. And then we'll work through that rotation and just keep going like that. Now, if you get a spreadsheet, then you can sort of plan this out. This is obviously quite detailed and over-engineered. I've been looking at this stuff for quite a while, and this is what we're using moving forwards. It provides a framework for the instructors without telling them exactly what they need to be doing. So that's why we do it. And it guarantees that everybody rotates through everything. So that is the highest level thing we've got on there. If you can kill this off, that's the whole presentation done.
Wow, Phill, that I would imagine that has got an awful lot of our colleagues thinking and eyes opened to the level of detail that you've put into your training modules and your methods. Down to the specific age groups as well. So I think the simplest way to round that off is just to let people know that the slides will be available. Is that right, Phill? And
yeah, I've sent them in already.
Yeah.
Just trying to kill this share now.
Available. And Rhiannon, could you just remind me where we actually share those on the website?
Yes, so everything's available on the events page on our website, and the videos will be on YouTube as well. But I'll share it all on social media.
Yeah, so we're trying to capture as many of these sessions as we possibly can, and share as much of the learnings as we possibly can, because some really, really good stuff. So everybody's trying their absolute best. We're trying to provide as much content and advice as we possibly can. I think I'll round up by just saying what I said at the beginning, which is over the next period, I'm not going to put a date on it, that there will be a return to training. Our colleagues in Sport England and government are calling this a return to play, or a return to training for the high performance elements of sport. That will have a phased approach. There will be an awful lot of social distancing, things that we all have to think about. And a good way to start thinking about that now is how you can use some of the online tools that some of you have just invented, and training methods that we've all had to just grab hold of and start working with it from ground zero. But my hunch on this is that we will incorporate this, you know, some of the smart ones amongst us will incorporate online training, online content into our Taekwondo going forwards. It'll become just another tool in our toolbox to get our content out to members. One of the more interesting ideas that's being talked about at the moment is something along the lines of this. If you've got 60 people in a class and you've got a gymnasium that holds 60 people, and you have to knock your sessions down to follow the social distancing rules, which means you can only fit 20 people at a time in your hall or gymnasium. Perhaps the way to look at that is to put some of your content into online modules so that the sharing of content goes out online, and your live sessions, where you have a much smaller number of people coming into your classes, they are used for feedback, assessment of the stuff that you're putting out online. I hope you can see the thought process here, so that you are trying your best to conform to the social distancing rules whilst getting back to play, back to training. Don't take any of that as rules and regulations and formal advice yet, but just listening to what other sports are doing and what Sports England and government are saying about the return to play. These are the kinds of things that are being talked about at the moment. Use some of the shops and places like that you've seen where they're doing crowd flow, entry, exit, how people arrive and leave the sessions, so that you maintain this social distancing, how you use equipment, how that equipment is not shared, how it's cleaned at the end of sessions. All of this sort of thing. There are more questions than answers at the moment, but we will be gathering information from government and from Sport England and sharing that in a return to play document or advice. And myself and the team will be, will be working on that in the coming weeks. We're still a while off from that, so I know you're all desperate to get back to your clubs and in your classes. They are saying at the moment that people can do outdoor stuff and one-on-one training, and already one or two of you are being quite creative in the way you interpret that. But it's a far cry and a long way from doing your traditional sessions to a class indoors. But the reason I'm bringing this up now is to ask you to try and at least start to think about how you can implement social distancing rules, which, to be frank, until a vaccine is available, it may be quite some time before the government say, yeah, large gatherings of large groups of people can continue. So it's an interesting one. I can already see some questions coming up on the chat about, well, can we use temperature checking? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's all about the answers to that. It's all about proportionality and feasibility within your own club environment. It's very difficult for us as a federation to come up with a one-size-fits-all for, let's say, a club and a gym that fits 10 people, or another gymnasium that you might be using that holds 50. All I would say is, at the moment, government are very, very specific about social distancing, 2-meter gaps, cleanliness. If you as a club start to say, well, yes, we can create a sealed environment where you're checking temperatures and you are creating bubbles, then that is quite labour intensive. It's financially quite difficult to do. And from a business model, it might not be sustainable for you to do that. So this is why I'm saying to you, try and think about creative ways of providing content online as much as you can. If you are returning to play and the government turn around to us and say, yep, now we can do small groups of 5 people can meet where social distancing rules are still applied, you have to start to think of how that affects your individual business or your individual club. And it's very, very difficult for us to come up with a set of criteria that will fit every particular scenario. It's a bit like in Karugi, Steve, where, you know, what happens if this goes on, you know, a lion goes into the court, grabs a chair, hits the other athlete over the head with a chair, and what do the rules say about that? It's never happened before. So we don't know. And it's exactly the same with coronavirus. But there's some pretty smart people operating at the moment at government levels trying to help us return to play. And some of them are doing that with outdoor sports. You know, you may have seen stuff in the press lately about things like golf and tennis and sports that can operate outside, but it's because they are A, outside, and B, they involve individuals that can socially distance with ease. But even they have reams and reams of regulations and rules about cleaning things. Don't touch the flag, don't touch the golf ball, don't share clubs. It's a minefield. It really is. So if you then try and translate that into indoor training, you know, GB Taekwondo, Steve won't mind me saying, they have done absolute massive amount of work. I'm talking, you know, hours and man hours of hours and hours. And, you know, Gary Hall has been sitting on the government panel that's advising sports how they can try and return to training. But like I said, very, very financially intensive, and probably not for people like ourselves who are just trying to get back to Taekwondo clubs and training. And I know it's hard. A lot of you, the ones that you that are running Taekwondo businesses, it's your livelihood, and I appreciate how desperate it is at this time. But you know, this thing, it's I think we're up to 35,000 dead in this country. It's a sobering figure, and you just can't get past that. So we just can only follow government guidelines, and they're more than guidelines at the moment. You know, we got people being stopped in the street, and people being stopped in cars for going where they shouldn't. So I'm going to leave that particular subject there, and we will just follow the government advice, and we'll share that as soon as we possibly can. I've left that particular subject for a few weeks. We've not even talked about it, but it will come up and it will become more and more relevant, and we'll try and do a session like this about that particular subject. But we need to be able to say something about it, and at the moment we're still not there. You know, there are things happening, but we're still nowhere near. So it just remains to thank our speakers. You know, Steve, thank you very, very much there, and helping us out at the beginning and jumping in and rescuing Phill and his technical problems. And thank you again, Phill. You're becoming a regular on this, and for everybody that's joined us. If you do have questions, put them on the web chat before we close it in any in a few moments' time. And keep positive. That's the main thing. Keep proactive. We're trying. We're coming up. British Taekwondo coming up with different membership types for friends and family, so that you can capitalize on that and start doing some general fitness sessions where your insurance covers you to do online work. And I'll finish the way I've finished all the sessions, which is just as a reminder to you all about how much Taekwondo can play a part in bringing people together, looking after people. It's not just about our physical well-being at this time. Mental well-being is such a big thing. Got a lot of people out there that don't get the social interaction that they need, and Taekwondo clubs are the center of a lot of people's social lives, and we shouldn't forget that. And as coaches, we have a little bit of a duty to keep in touch with people. Even if you're not doing online training, just contact your members, how they're doing. Just a phone call. It's the same conversation that people have had about elderly people. They can go a day or days without even speaking to anybody, and don't just assume that everyone's got a network of family and friends around them. And Taekwondo has a part to play in that physical and mental well-being. And if nothing else, by doing that, you're keeping in touch with your members, so that when this is all over, you do have a club to go back to. Please just don't assume that everyone will just start up again. Sport is a fickle thing, really. People will move on to the next thing that they've spotted, and we all have businesses and volunteer-led clubs to rebuild. So anyway, I've talked quite a lot today. Thank you again. I think we're over the hill now. We now need to start thinking about returning to play, but it is some time off, and we'll keep doing these. We're doing them once a fortnight, and keep strong, keep training, and keep active. And thank you very, very much for everybody for participating. Thanks, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.